But what happens next will break your heart and heal it again, because this is not just the story of a girl begging for help. It is the story of two souls who save each other when the world had already given up on them. So grab your popcorn, sit back, and get ready for one of the most powerful stories you've ever heard. And if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button, turn on the notification bell to support more inspiring stories like this one.
Subscribe for more content.
The sun had barely risen over Jegino, yet the air was already thick with heat and sorrow. Small feet hurried through the muddy streets. Ifunanya, a frail 7-year-old girl with torn slippers and bright, tired eyes. In her hands, she carried a tray of sachet water, the same one she had used since her mother died 2 years ago. Every day before dawn, she whispered to her father, lying weakly on the wooden bed, "Papa, I'll sell all the water today. I'll buy your medicine, I promise." Her father, Mr. Okori, would force a smile. "My sunshine, don't go too far. And don't stop believing." But belief couldn't stop the coughs that tore through his chest like broken glass. The doctors at St. Mary's Clinic had said the words that crushed her world: kidney failure. The medicine was expensive, the surgery impossible. Still, Ifunanya refused to give up. She had seen her father struggle for years, fixing cars under the scorching sun, smiling through pain just to feed her. She couldn't let him die. That morning, after selling all her sachet water, she overheard two men talking. They mentioned Mrs. Adanna Okeke, the billionaire CEO of Adanna Holdings, a woman richer than anyone in Lagos, known for her luxury, power, and cold heart. "That woman doesn't even blink when she fires people," one man said. But one word caught Ifunanya's attention: billionaire. That night, as her father coughed himself to sleep, she sat quietly beside him, eyes shining with determination. "If she has that much money, then maybe she can help Papa," she whispered. Her heart was small, but her courage was huge. The next morning, with nothing but her tray and a photo of her sick father, Ifunanya set out toward Eco Towers, the tallest building in Lagos. The guards laughed when they saw her, a dusty little girl clutching a plastic bag. But she didn't move. She looked up at the giant building and whispered, "God, please, let her see me." And with that, her journey, one that would melt a billionaire's heart, began. The lobby of Adanna Holdings shimmered like a palace: marble floors, gold elevators, and people in sharp suits who walked as if they owned the world. And then, through the grand revolving doors, walked Ifunanya, barefoot, dusty, holding a nylon bag. The moment she stepped in, silence fell. A cleaner paused mid-swipe. A receptionist raised her brows. Security guards exchanged confused looks. "Small girl, where's your mummy?" one of them asked, half amused, half annoyed. Ifunanya held out a small folded paper. "I came to see Mrs. Adanna. I want to work for her." The guards burst into laughter. One of them clapped his hands mockingly. "You want to work for the richest woman in Lagos?" "Yes, sir," she said softly. "My papa is sick. I'll do anything." The laughter faded. The sincerity in her eyes silenced them. Just then, Kemi, Adanna's personal assistant, walked past. She stopped, frowning at the sight of the child. "What's going on here?" she demanded. "She says she wants to see Madam Adanna," one guard said. Kemi sighed. "Madam doesn't see anyone without appointment. Take her outside." But as Ifunanya turned to leave, something slipped from her nylon bag, a small photograph. It fell face up. Kemi bent down to pick it up. It showed a thin, frail man lying on a bed, his smile weak but kind. "My papa," Ifunanya whispered. "He will die if I don't find work." For a moment, Kemi's heart softened. "Wait here," she said quietly. Minutes later, Ifunanya stood before the huge glass doors of Mrs. Adanna Okeke's office, the woman behind Lagos' biggest company, feared and respected by all. Inside, Adanna sat at her desk, dressed in a cream suit, her expression cold as marble. Her voice was sharp, her reputation even sharper. "Who let this child in?" she asked flatly. Ifunanya's voice trembled. Please, Ma, I'm not begging. I just want to work. My papa is sick. I can sweep, wash, or serve water. Adanna looked up slowly, her dark eyes meeting the child's. For a long, silent moment, something in her chest, something buried for years, began to stir. Mrs. Adanna Okeke had seen many things in her life: boardroom battles, broken contracts, and the false smiles of greedy men. But she had never seen a little girl look at her the way Ifunanya did, with hope, pure and trembling. For a few seconds the entire office was silent. Even the air conditioner seemed to pause. Child, Adanna said slowly, her voice cool as ice. Who told you to come here? No one, Ma, Ifunanya whispered. I want to help my papa. He's sick. I can work. I can sweep, mop, anything. Adanna's assistant, Kemi, tried to intervene. Madam, maybe I should quiet, Adanna cut in sharply. Her eyes didn't leave the girl's face. She had built walls around her heart long ago, thick walls of success, pain, and loneliness. But now, staring at the child's thin frame and cracked lips, she felt a strange tightness in her chest. What's wrong with your father? She asked finally. He's very sick, Ma. The doctor said something is wrong inside his body. They said he needs a lot of money. Adanna's pen dropped from her hand. Her own father's face flashed in her mind, the man she had watched die in poverty before she built her empire. Why didn't you go to your relatives? We have none, Ma. It's just me and Papa. Something broke inside her then, quietly but deeply. After a long silence, she said, Go downstairs. Tell Kemi to give you food. Then come back tomorrow. Ifunanya's eyes widened. You mean I can come again? Adanna nodded once. We'll talk about work later. The little girl's smile could have lit up the whole office. She whispered a shaky, Thank you, Ma, and ran out clutching her plastic bag. When she left, Adanna turned her chair toward the window. The city stretched beneath her like a sea of wealth and noise, everything she had fought to own. But at that moment all she could think of was a poor man coughing in a wooden house, and a little grave enough to beg a billionaire for hope. The next morning Ifunanya was awake before dawn. She washed her only dress, combed her rough hair, and whispered a prayer beside her father's bed. Papa, I'm going back to that big woman's office today. Maybe she will help us. Her father smiled weakly. My sunshine, God will go with you. Don't forget who you are. Be truthful. Be kind. With that, she hurried off toward the city, again, her stomach empty but her heart full of courage. At Adanna Holdings, the guards no longer laughed. Word had spread of the little girl who dared to walk into the billionaire's office. One of them even smiled as she passed. You again, small madam? Yes, sir, she said shyly. Madam said I should come back. When she entered Adanna's office, the woman was already waiting, elegant as always, sipping tea beside the tall glass window. You came back, Adanna said without looking up. Yes, Ma. You said I should. Adanna studied her carefully, the same torn slippers, the same humble eyes. She gestured toward a table where a plate of food sat. Eat first. Ifunanya hesitated. Can I take it home, Ma? My papa hasn't eaten since yesterday. That single sentence made Adanna's hand freeze mid-her. Take it then, she said quietly. The child wrapped the food carefully, like something sacred. Then Adanna said, I have a job for you. Downstairs the cleaners are short of help. If you work hard and don't lie, you'll get paid every Friday. Do you understand? Ifunanya's eyes shone. Yes, Ma. Thank you, Ma. But Adanna wasn't done. One more thing, she said, leaning forward. I want to see if you're truly honest. Kemi will drop some money on your table later. If you take it even 1 naira, you'll never step into this building again. Ifunanya nodded without blinking. Yes, Ma. I won't touch it. When she left the office, Adanna sighed deeply. She reminds me too much of who I used to be, she murmured. Little did she know that test would reveal something far greater than honesty. The cleaning job at Adanna Holdings was harder than Ifunanya imagined. The floors stretched endlessly, shining like mirrors. Every hour, new footprints appeared, and she had to start all over again. Still, she worked with a smile. Every time her arms grew weak, she whispered, "This is for you, Papa." The other cleaners, grown women, couldn't believe her strength. "Small girl, na juju you day use?" One teased. Ifunanya giggled. "No, Auntie. It's just love." By noon, her small hands were red from scrubbing. Kemi, the assistant, watched quietly from the hallway. She had been instructed by Adanna to observe everything. Then came the moment of truth. Kemi walked up to Ifunanya's table, pretending to check the cleaning supplies. She placed an envelope beside the mop bucket, thick with cash. "Here," she said casually. "Someone dropped this. Keep it for now." Then she left. Ifunanya looked at the envelope. Her heart raced. She could smell the faint scent of new Naira notes. She thought of her father, weak, coughing, starving. That money could buy medicine, food, even a doctor. Tears welled up in her eyes. She touched the envelope, trembling. Then she whispered, "Papa said never to touch what is not mine." She picked it up carefully and ran straight to the elevator. Moments later, she burst into Adanna's office, panting. "Ma, Ma," she cried. Adanna frowned. "What's wrong?" "This fell near my table, Ma. I think someone forgot it." Adanna looked at the envelope, then at the little girl's sweaty face. She stood slowly. "You didn't open it?" "No, Ma. It's not mine." Silence filled the room. Even Kemi, standing nearby, blinked back tears. Adanna turned toward the window for a long moment, her reflection staring back at her. A woman who once thought the world was only about power. Then she faced Ifunanya again. "You passed the test," she said softly. "Test? Yes, I wanted to see your heart." Ifunanya blinked in confusion. "Did I do something wrong?" Adanna knelt down for the first time in years and smiled, a real gentle smile. "No, my dear. You did everything right." For a long moment, the room was silent. Mrs. Adanna Okeke, the woman the world feared for her ruthlessness, looked at the little girl before her and saw not a cleaner, but a miracle. She rose slowly from her chair, walked to the window, and spoke without turning. "When I was your age, I begged people for help too," she said quietly. "No one listened. I promised myself that if I ever became rich, I'd never be weak again." Ifunanya tilted her head. "But, Ma, helping people doesn't make you weak." Those words hit Adanna like a soft thunder. She turned and saw innocence, the kind of purity she had lost long ago. "Come here," Adanna said. Ifunanya walked closer, clutching her tray to her chest. "You said your father is sick?" "Yes, Ma. He can't walk anymore. The doctor said his kidney is bad." Adanna nodded, her expression unreadable. Then she pressed a button on her desk phone. "Kemi, get my driver ready. We're going somewhere." "Where to, Ma?" Kemi asked. "To see her father." Ifunanya's eyes widened. "You mean you'll come to our house?" "Yes, my dear. I want to see him myself." Later that evening, a black Range Rover pulled into the narrow, dusty street of Ajegunle. People peered out of their windows as the billionaire stepped down, her heels sinking into the sand, her perfume mixing with the scent of smoke and poverty. Inside the small wooden house, Mr. Okori tried to sit up when he saw her. "Good evening, madam," he whispered weakly. "Please forgive my daughter if she disturbed you." Adanna's voice softened. "She didn't disturb me, sir. She reminded me that humanity still exists." She sat beside him and gently held his hand. "You'll get treatment. I'll make sure of it." Tears filled the man's eyes. "God bless you, Ma." Adanna smiled faintly. "Don't thank me yet. Thank your daughter. She saved you with her honesty." Ifunanya sobbed and hugged her father tightly. For the first time in years, Adanna's eyes grew moist. She looked at them and whispered under her breath, "I'll never let this family suffer again." By the next morning, the streets of Ajegunle were alive with whispers. A billionaire had entered their neighborhood the night before, something no one had ever seen. Some said she came to buy land. Others said she came to arrest someone. But Ifunanya knew the truth. She came to save her father. At dawn, a sleek, black SUV pulled up again in front of their wooden house. Mrs. Adanna Okeke stepped out, this time wearing a simple dress, no jewelry, no makeup, just compassion in her eyes. "Good morning, my dear," she said softly. "Is Papa ready?" Ifunanya nodded eagerly, her face glowing with hope. Her father was too weak to walk, so two of Adanna's security men helped lift him gently into the car. The entire neighborhood watched, amazed. As they drove toward Mercy General Hospital, Ifunanya kept glancing at Adanna, her eyes filled with gratitude. "Ma," she whispered, "God will bless you." "You don't even know us," Adanna smiled sadly. "Maybe I don't, but sometimes God connects hearts for a reason." When they reached the hospital, Adanna paid for everything up front, private ward, surgery, medications, and special care. The doctors couldn't believe it. "Madam, are you sure you want to cover all this?" one asked. Adanna's voice was firm. "Yes, money means nothing if it can't save a life." For the next few days, Ifunanya refused to leave her father's side. Adanna visited daily, sometimes bringing food, sometimes just standing quietly by the window as doctors worked. On the 5th night, the surgery was done. It was successful. When the doctor stepped out smiling, Ifunanya burst into tears. "Papa will live?" "Yes," he said gently. "He will live." She fell to her knees, crying and laughing at the same time. Adanna bent down, wiped her tears, and whispered, "You see? Miracles still happen." That night, as Ifunanya's father slept peacefully for the first time in months, Adanna sat by the bed. She looked at the little girl curled up beside him and felt something new, peace. She hadn't felt it in years. And for the first time since her childhood, the billionaire prayed, not for wealth, but for healing. Morning sunlight streamed softly through the hospital window, painting the white walls gold. The air was quiet, broken only by the rhythmic beeping of the heart monitor beside Mr. Okori's bed. After days of prayers and tears, Ifunanya had finally fallen asleep on the couch, her tiny hand still clutching her father's arm. Mrs. Adanna Okeke sat quietly beside them, watching with gentle eyes. Then she heard it, a weak cough. Her eyes widened. Mr. Okori stirred slowly, blinking at the bright room around him. Where am I?" Adanna leaned forward quickly. "You're safe, sir. You're at Mercy Hospital." Ifunanya jerked awake. "Papa," she cried, throwing her arms around him. "You're alive." He touched her hair gently, his eyes misty. "My sunshine. I thought I'd never see you smile again." Adanna smiled faintly. "She never gave up on you. Your daughter is the bravest little girl I've ever met." When the doctor came in, he confirmed what they all hoped for. The operation was successful. He just needs rest and proper diet. He'll recover fully. Tears rolled freely down Ifunanya's cheeks. She turned to Adanna and whispered, "Ma, you saved my papa. How can I thank you?" Adanna's throat tightened. "You already did, my dear. You reminded me that money without compassion is nothing." As the days passed, Adanna continued visiting the hospital, not as a billionaire, but as family. She brought fruits, clean clothes, and toys for Ifunanya. The nurses whispered, "Who knew the Iron Lady of Lagos could be so kind?" When Mr. Okori was strong enough to walk again, he called for Adanna privately. "Madam," he said, his voice trembling, "I have nothing to give you, but please accept this." He handed her a small wooden carving, a bird smooth and simple, carved from the edge of his old bed. Adanna took it carefully. "You made this?" "Yes, Ma, it's all I can offer. It's called Hope Bird. It flies even when its wings are broken." For the first time in years, tears rolled down Adanna's cheeks. She whispered, "Hope Bird. That's exactly what your daughter gave me." Weeks passed, and Mr. Okori's health grew stronger each day. The color returned to his cheeks. His laughter slowly filled the hospital room again, and for the first time in months, life didn't feel like a battle. But one morning, Mrs. Adanna Okeke arrived looking unusually quiet. She stood by the window, watching Ifunanya play with a small toy she had bought her, a bright red butterfly that danced when you pressed a button. "Do you like it?" Adanna asked softly. Ifunanya smiled. Yes, Ma. It makes me happy. That simple answer warmed Adanna's heart. She turned toward Mr. Okori. Sir, the doctors say you can go home soon. He nodded gratefully. Yes, Ma. You've done more than anyone ever has. We can never repay you. Adanna hesitated, her fingers tightening around the hope bird carving he had given her. Actually, I have something to ask. They both looked at her curiously. Would you allow me to help your daughter further? I want to sponsor her education from now till university, and I want her to stay with me for a while. My mansion is big, but it's empty. Mr. Okori froze. Ma, you want my daughter to live with you? Yes, Adanna said gently. Not as a servant, as family. Ifunanya blinked, her little mouth open in surprise. You mean I live with you in that tall building with glass walls? Adanna smiled through tears. Yes, my dear. You'll have your own room, your own books, and you'll never have to hawk again. The room fell silent. Mr. Okori looked at his daughter, the same little girl who had walked barefoot into a billionaire's world and changed it with nothing but truth. Then he looked at Adanna, a woman reborn through compassion. Finally, he nodded. If it means a better life for her, then yes, but please, don't let her forget where she came from. Adanna placed her hand over his. Never. I'll raise her to remember every humble step that brought her here. Ifunanya hugged both of them, crying and laughing. For the first time, Adanna realized home wasn't made of walls. It was made of love. The black Range Rover glided through the golden gates of Adanna's mansion, its tires crunching softly on the marble driveway. Ifunanya pressed her face against the window, eyes wide with wonder. She had never seen anything like it. Fountains danced in the courtyard, and the walls sparkled like glass. Welcome home, my dear, Adanna said gently. Home? Ifunanya whispered. She could hardly believe it. When they entered, the house staff lined up respectfully. They had heard stories about the little girl who melted the Iron Lady's heart. Everyone expected a spoiled rich child. Instead, they saw a shy girl clutching a small nylon bag and a carved wooden bird. Adanna smiled proudly. Everyone, this is Ifunanya. From today, she's part of this family. The staff gasped softly, but quickly bowed. Welcome, Miss Ifunanya, they said in unison. Ifunanya smiled nervously. Good afternoon, everyone. Her first night in the mansion felt like a dream. Her room had pink curtains, a bed soft as clouds, and a lamp shaped like a flower. But despite all the beauty, she still whispered her bedtime prayer on the floor, just like she used to in Ejegenal. Adanna saw her from the doorway and quietly walked in. You don't need to sleep on the floor anymore, my dear. Ifunanya looked up. I know, Ma, but I just want to thank God the same way I used to. Adanna's heart melted again. From that day on, laughter began to fill the mansion. Ifunanya would run through the halls, greet the cooks, sing while helping the maids, and even teach the driver new songs in Igbo. The house that once felt cold and silent now echoed with joy. One morning, as Adanna watched her play in the garden, Kemi whispered, Madam, it's like this house is alive again. Adanna nodded, smiling. It's not the house, Kemi. It's me. I'm alive again. Every evening she would sit with Ifunanya and help her read, slowly teaching her English and math. And every time the little girl got a word right, Adanna clapped like a proud mother. The Iron Lady of Lagos had finally found something money couldn't buy, a reason to. The mansion that once echoed with silence now rang with laughter and music. Every corner told a new story, one of hope, of warmth, and of the little girl who had unknowingly become the heartbeat of a billionaire's world. Each morning, Adanna Okeke would wake up earlier than usual, not for meetings or stock reports, but to hear the sound of Ifunanya singing softly while brushing her teeth. The tune, sweet and simple, reminded her of her late mother's lullabies. One afternoon, Adanna sat at her desk reviewing company documents. Ifunanya tiptoed in, holding a paper flower she had folded herself. Ma, I made this for you, she said proudly. Adanna looked up and smiled. A flower? It's beautiful. It's called Forever Smile, Ifunanya said shyly. Because you always look prettier when you smile. Adanna laughed softly, something her staff hadn't heard in years. She lifted the girl into her lap and hugged her gently. You're teaching me how to smile again, you know that? Ifunanya giggled. That's what friends do. But deep inside, Adanna felt something stronger than friendship. Each time she looked at the child's innocent eyes, her heart ached with love, the kind she never thought she could feel again after losing her husband and unborn child years ago. That night, while watching Ifunanya sleep, Adanna whispered to herself, maybe God didn't forget me. Maybe he just sent her instead. Days turned into weeks. Ifunanya started attending school nearby, driven daily by Adanna's driver. She quickly became one of the brightest pupils, always polite, always cheerful. The teachers often sent notes saying, "You must be proud of your daughter." Each time Adanna read those words, tears filled her eyes. Daughter. It sounded so natural now. One Sunday morning, as they prepared for church, Ifunanya looked up at her and said, "Mummy Adanna, can I wear the white dress today?" Adanna froze. "What did you call me?" "Mummy," Ifunanya said softly, "because that's who you are to me now." Adanna's heart broke, not from pain but from love too full to hold. She knelt, hugged her tightly, and whispered, "I'll be your mummy for as long as I live." And in that embrace, both hearts, once broken in different ways, finally healed together. For years, the name Adanna Okeke was spoken with awe and fear. To the world, she was the billionaire who crushed competitors without blinking, the woman who fired employees with one cold glance, the Iron Lady of Lagos. But that image was changing, quietly, beautifully, because of one small girl named Ifunanya. It started at the office. Her staff noticed she smiled more often now. She no longer barked orders, she asked. She began arriving earlier, not for business deals, but to drop Ifunanya off at school first. The day she personally visited the company's cafeteria shocked everyone. She stood beside the cleaners and servers, thanking them for their hard work. When one old woman shyly asked, "Madam, are you okay today?" Adanna just smiled and said, "I'm better than I've been in years." Behind that smile stood a little girl with 2 pigtails and a bright pink backpack, waiting by the door, waving at her, "Mummy Adanna." Soon stories began to spread, not of her wealth, but of her kindness. She donated to children's hospitals, sponsored scholarships, and sent relief funds to rural clinics, all anonymously. When the media finally caught wind, they ran headlines like, "Adanna Okeke, the billionaire, with a hidden heart." She didn't care about the attention. She only cared about getting home before 7 p.m. so she could help Ifunanya with homework and hear stories about her day. One evening after dinner, Adanna sat quietly by the window while Ifunanya drew on the floor. The little girl lifted her drawing, a big heart with 2 stick figures inside, holding hands. "This is us," she said proudly. "You and me." Adanna's throat tightened. "What's the heart for?" "It's love," Ifunanya replied. "Because we share one now." Tears slipped down Adanna's cheeks. She whispered, "You've changed me, Ifunanya. You've shown me what money could never buy." Later that week, Adanna called a meeting with her board members. They expected another profit report. Instead, she said, "We're starting a foundation for sick fathers and children in need. I'm naming it the Ifunanya Hope Foundation." There was silence, then applause. For the first time, people didn't just respect Adanna. They admired her, not for her power, but for her heart. And from that day, the world began to see the woman the world never knew. The morning began like any other, birds singing, the smell of pancakes, and Ifunanya's laughter echoing through the halls. Adanna stood in the kitchen, smiling as she watched the little girl feed crumbs to the family cat. But by evening, that laughter would fade into sirens and tears. It started with a phone call. Adanna was in a meeting when her secretary rushed in, pale and trembling. "Madam, it's urgent. It's about Ifunanya." Her world froze. She dropped her pen. What happened? Her father collapsed again at the hospital. "It's serious." Within minutes, Adanna was in her car, speeding through traffic, her heart racing faster than the engine. When she arrived, she saw Ifunanya kneeling beside her father's hospital bed, clutching his hand and sobbing. "Daddy, please don't leave me," she cried. "Mommy Adanna is here now. She'll help you." Adanna's eyes filled with tears as she saw the frail man gasping for air. She rushed to the doctor. "Do whatever it takes, no matter the cost," the doctor sighed. "We're trying, ma'am, but his heart is failing. He's too weak." Adanna gripped the man's hand. "Sir, please hold on. Your daughter needs you." He looked at her, faintly smiled, and whispered, "Take care of her. She's my whole world." Then his hand went limp. The monitor flatlined. Ifunanya screamed, a sound so raw it broke something deep inside Adanna. She fell to her knees, holding the girl tightly as they both wept uncontrollably. For days the mansion fell silent again. Ifunanya wouldn't eat. She wouldn't speak. She just stared out the window, holding her father's photograph. Adanna tried everything, stories, songs, even gifts, but nothing worked. One night, she found the little girl crying in bed, whispering, "Everyone I love leaves me." Adanna sat beside her, tears streaming. "No, my darling," she said softly. "I'm not going anywhere." "Not now, not ever." She held Ifunanya close until she finally slept, her tiny hands gripping Adanna's shirt like a lifeline. And as the billionaire looked at her sleeping face, she realized something terrifying and beautiful. She would give up everything, her wealth, her empire, her fame, just to protect this little girl from ever feeling pain again. The days after the funeral were heavy like a never-ending storm. The mansion that once glowed with laughter was now quiet, dim, and filled with the soft sound of a child's tears. Ifunanya had barely spoken since her father's burial. She sat by the window every morning, hugging the old toy he gave her, the only thing she had left of him. Adanna watched her from afar, her heart breaking a little more each day. The powerful billionaire, who could buy anything, stood helpless before a little girl's grief. One night, unable to sleep, Adanna entered Ifunanya's room. The moonlight fell gently on her small face, pale and streaked with tears. She knelt beside the bed, brushed the girl's hair softly, and whispered, "My angel, I can't bring him back, but I can promise you something." Ifunanya stirred, opening her tired eyes. "What promise?" she asked weakly. Adanna swallowed hard. "I promise you'll never be alone again. I'll be your mother, your family, your everything. You'll have a home, a future, and all the love this world can give." For a moment, silence filled the room. Then a single tear rolled down Ifunanya's cheek. "Will you keep your promise forever?" Adanna's voice cracked. "Forever and ever, my child." That night, something sacred happened. A bond deeper than blood was formed, not written in law, but in love and loss. From that day, Adanna's life changed. She started the adoption process, refusing to let her lawyers handle it. "This one," she told them, "I'll do myself." She sold one of her luxury cars and used the money to expand the Ifunanya Hope Foundation, opening a free medical wing in memory of the girl's late father. At the opening ceremony, Adanna stood beside Ifunanya, holding her hand as cameras flashed. "This isn't charity," she said in her speech. "This is love, the kind that saves lives, just like one little girl saved mine." The audience stood, clapping through tears. Ifunanya looked up at her and whispered, "I love you, Mummy." And in that moment, Adanna knew the promise she made wasn't a burden. It was her rebirth. A year had passed since that night of tears and promises. The seasons had changed, and so had everything else. Adanna Okeke, once the feared billionaire, was now known as the Mother of Hope. Her foundation had helped hundreds of sick children and struggling parents across Nigeria. But her greatest pride wasn't in any award or headline. It was in the sound of one little girl's laughter filling her home every morning. Ifunanya had bloomed like a flower after the rain. She was stronger now, still tender, still kind, but her eyes no longer carried sadness. Every morning before school, she'd run into Adanna's room shouting, "Mummy, wake up. You'll be late for hugs." Adanna would laugh, wrap her in her arms, and whisper, You are my reason to smile. One bright Saturday, the mansion's garden was filled with music, laughter, and balloons. Friends, neighbors, and children from the foundation gathered around. It was Ifunanya's official adoption celebration. As the guests clapped and cheered, the judge handed Adanna the final papers. "Congratulations, Mrs. Okeke," he said warmly. "She's now legally your daughter." Ifunanya jumped into Adanna's arms. "Does that mean I'll stay with you forever?" Adanna smiled, tears streaming down her face. "Forever, my love. This is your home." The crowd applauded. Cameras flashed. But in that moment, nothing else mattered. Not the fame, not the wealth, just the feeling of holding her daughter and knowing they had both found their missing piece. Later that evening, as the sun set, they sat by the lake behind the mansion. Ifunanya rested her head on Adanna's lap and whispered, "Mummy, do you think Daddy is proud of me?" Adanna brushed her hair softly. "He's proud of both of us. He's smiling right now, watching how love won in the end." They sat there in silence, the breeze gentle, the sky painted in gold and orange. Adanna looked up and whispered, "Thank you, God, for sending her to me." Ifunanya smiled in her sleep, and as the stars began to shine above them, it was clear this wasn't the end of their story. It was the gift of a new beginning.
Subscribe for more content.